Sure. Let's stream. Why not? Why not stream? Why not stream? This is relatively boring, so we might as well. Aha. Real quick, since I haven't in a while. So I should probably turn on my own volume. I don't have game volume normally when I play on stream. Oh, hello. Any others over here while I'm resetting? PG, alright. I'm gonna change this real quick. Shiny megas so far, and then we can turn down the size even further. Nothing. Alright. Alright. I forgot how little water I had when I started streaming, so I'm gonna have to get up actually pretty soon to grab more. My bad. My bad. Let's check again. Nope. Body. Her body. Body over here. I'll pop out chat and then start watching YouTube videos. Oh. Sorry. Let's check after this guy. Nope. Let's see. Like 9 times out of 10, I would be having whatever YouTube video I'm listening to in the background also. But the video I decided to finish watching before I get going, or like before I do any of that, is talking about government stuff, and honestly, platforming, that type of thing. Is it... Would it be righteous of me? Yeah. Would it be probably correct of me? No. Because I'm partly of the belief that being outspokenly political ends up, at least when it comes to not like playing with people's like societal acceptance and lives and all that, outside of that type of thing, like being political is what's the word I'm looking for? It gives me, when I see it with other people, it gives me the holier than thou impression of them, where all I think is, oh, they think they're better than me, so that, or they think that they're right and I'm wrong, and therefore they're gonna shove their beliefs down my throat without having an active dialogue. At least when it comes to this type of situation. So, yeah, that is why I am not showing that actively at the moment. That is okay. That is okay. That is okay. I will continue to listen to my Hank Green video though. It is, if you want to go, it's Hank Green about the government shutdown. But we'll not be playing the audio. Nothing there. Alright, after this one, I'm gonna check. Alright. I should find a new video to watch in the background and maybe actually have the video and audio up on stream. Maybe talk about said video. Back. No extra shinies, okay. Okay. So I want to just watch them. I just want to watch a video that is appealing, and YouTube is not giving me videos that are appealing. Here's something. The original sin of computing that no one can fix by Lori Wired. Okay. going to add a window capture. We'll capture this audio, and we're gonna say we're gonna put you down corner and transform. We'll do this live. We'll do this live. Let's blow this up real quick so we can actually see what we're working with here. There we go. And the other side. Other side, let's crop it, let's crop it. Alright, bottom time. Wait, hold on, pause. Alright. Top. Actually, 200 actually works. And we're just gonna slowly sink it in from here. Close. Alright. Alright, cool. We got our current video watch in the background. And is that... Let's see how loud that is.
It is widely considered to be the Nobel Prize of Computer Science.
Okay.
You may be surprised to know that this is not a real Turing Award, but it does look a lot like one. It is also in the shape of a bowl, but it also comes with $1 million prize as well. When Ken Thompson, one of the original authors of the Unix operating system, accepted his Turing Award in 1984,
we messed around with audio a little bit, so we'll see.
It didn't talk about just like some generalized computing theory. It also didn't talk about the future of computer science. Instead, he released a very dark and terrifying thought experiment onto the world.
Okay.
What if every single compiler was already irreversibly compromised? An original
Irreversibly
syntax
compromised.
generation of compiler with no cure. He called it Reflections on Trusting Trust. It was the first example of a meta backdoor, a virus so perfect that even complete code auditing couldn't catch it. But let's think how an original compiler's sin could permeate through multiple subsequent generations. Now I have a story for you as an analogy. About a year ago, I made a video on virtual memory. It was a really good video. I encourage you to go watch it. In that video, I accidentally mispronounced the word contiguous as contiguous. And so inevitably, when the comments made me realize my mistake, I ended up calling my mom, because she watches all my videos. Hi, Mom. And I asked her, did you notice my mistake? And she said, what mistake? And I said, I mispronounced the word contiguous as contiguous. And she just paused for a second, and she said, is that wrong? Now, I learned that word from my mom, and she learned that word from her parents, so it has to make you wonder, how many generations far back do you have to go to find the original mistake? And that's exactly how the compiler original sin theory works. Basically, it's like self-replicating code, where code reproduces code that also reproduces that same issue. Now you might think this is kind of complicated, but let me make it much worse for you.
That is good enough. I just wanted to show who's actually behind the video while it's playing.
Terrifying, and you will also be terrified to know that this is actually a very good representation of a lot of the other family trees for different programming languages and compilers themselves.
Okay, on, so
this is just
that's interesting. Hold on, I need to go back.
Compilers themselves.
I need to go back because as someone that's worked a lot with programming, I want to see where a lot of things I'm aware of come from. But I don't recognize anything here, so it's not like this is useful to me. I see something Jupiter. That's a name I'm familiar with. I don't understand any of this. I see some Win32. I understand that. That's about it. I don't understand any of that. Which,
this is just
wow.
Absolutely terrible.
Glad to hear there's something like that.
All of these different derivations going from the year 1975 to 2010. I don't even want to know what happened after 2010. To understand how an original compiler would work, you first have to understand how compilers are compiled. And remember, compilers are just the programs that take in your source code and produce that compiled binary. A lot of different programming languages are something called self-hosted. And to understand what that means, let's take a step back for a second. I want you to think of a word, any word you want. I'm going to pick the word literal, and I'm going to come up with a definition for that word. My definition for literal might be something like taking words at face value or taking something at their most basic definition. But pause for a second, and how did I describe that definition of the English word literal? I used the English language to describe the definition.
I just realized I don't even have music going on.
Same if you were following along.
I don't have music in this game.
If you didn't, let me know what you did, because I need to like.
No wonder that person.
But this kind of creates a paradox where you have to know the language in order to understand definitions of that language. And this is exactly how it works in the C programming language. Programming languages being self-hosted means that their compilers.
I've been trying to learn C++, and that's like C family, and it feels like every time I'm trying to learn something, it's calling back on something else that I should have known. It's awful. It's awful.
Written in the language that they compile for, aka the C compiler is actually written in the C programming language. Now, when I first started learning this kind of gave me an existential crisis, so allow me to also share my existential crisis with you. So if the C compiler is written in the C language itself, how is that compiler compiled? And the answer is another compiler. But how was that compiler compiled? Prior to the C compiler being fully self-hosted, it was actually derived from the B compiler. And I know naming conventions were absolutely genius back then. So if we go back generations of compilers compiling and deriving other compilers, compiler beget compiler. Sounds biblical. Goes along with this well. We actually get the original self-hosted assemblers assembling assembly. And I know what you're about to say, but how are those assemblers assembled? I hope you're just as horrified as me to think that for the very earliest computers, humans were the original assemblers. So what programmers had to do is they had to go handwrite their assembly programs, and then at assemble time, they had to go over to the instructions manual and handwrite those ones and zeros for the corresponding opcodes of their program. So if you haven't thanked your compiler today, make sure to do so. We can demonstrate the idea of self-hosted and self-reproducing compilers with a programming exercise. Ken Thompson, in his acceptance speech, said that in college, before video games, they used to amuse themselves with different programming exercises. I don't think I was doing that in college. I think I was playing too much World of Warcraft. But the idea behind the exercise is to produce a program that when
Just
compiled
so
and
people like that,
executed
though.
will output an exact copy of the original source code. And the name for these is actually Quines, after Willard Van Orman Quine, the philosopher. So I'd like to try my hand at producing some self-producing code. And if you'd like to follow along, I've made all of the code for this available in my GitHub repository, which I will leave a link to in the description of this video. So let's go over to our very first simple Quine program.
Wait, hold on. Did I see a bench? No.
Now remember, the goal behind
It's
this
just my
program
eyes playing
is to
tricks
produce
on me.
exactly this source code
Because
as soon as it executes the program. And this is going to include
I've
all
only
of
gotten
these
one
different
shiny from
comments
this
as
so
well
far,
as
and
the
it
actual
was
code
a
itself. So if you progressively just kept running and rerunning the output of
Bunnelby.
this
It's a
program,
Bunnelby.
you would get kind of this recursive
I'm
program
not
that's
sure
always
that it
reproducing
even
itself.
was
that's
part of
the
this. It might have
whole
already been
complicated
there
goal
for a while.
behind this. And I do a little bit of tricks with this, with the format specifiers. For example, if I want to print a new line in this code, I can't just print a new line in the code. I have to use these format specifiers. So 10 corresponds to the ASCII value on the ASCII table for the new line character. And then if I want to print quotation marks inside of here, I can use the ASCII value 34 in order to produce those quotation
Okay, but what the hell's the
marks
S?
inside of my string
Unless
code
it's
that's going to be part of my output.
no equal.
Now that sounds complicated,
Wait,
but
no.
let's go and let's
S
execute
space
this
space
program
space
and make sure it
S
produces
or
all of the
quote
correct
S
code.
quote
So I've already
base.
compiled my program, and if I do /quine, here you can see this exactly matches our original code. And if I want to, what I can do, if I want to verify that the output is exactly the same, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to write the output of this to a temporary file. I'll just call it temp. So now that contains the output of the program. And so, if I want to diff this, I can do diff. I'm going to do the original quine.c, which is the source code, and then I'm going to diff that with that temp output. And it should be
I don't
exactly
understand
the
any
same.
of this anymore.
Fingers crossed. Yes. It is exactly the same.
My
so
Python
we have
coder
successfully
ass
made some self-producing
does
code.
not
Now Thompson did
understand any of
say
this.
that the best vehicle for producing this self-producing code was Fortran, so I decided to also write another
Fortran?
version
No.
of this same code in the Fortran programming language. Now if we go over here,
Alright, hold on.
this looks very similar to the C program, except so much uglier. But we have a kind of copy of the source code for this stored inside
Okay,
of
but
the
this also
string
like
here as
half
well.
looks like
So
Python.
remember, we kind of have to self-reproduce the program inside of this string that's going to allow us to actually print this string.
Like I
at one
understand this
time.
better just because of the
And
way
kind of
it's written,
side
like
note here,
just because
if
of the
you're ever
language.
coding in Fortran, note that a do loop, you cannot increment the flag variable inside of it. So I ended up having to change this to a do while loop just to be able to increment my I variable. That's really interesting.
Oh no.
And I believe
Oh
this is the
no.
first time I've ever had the Fortran language
Incrementing
as a
I
language
variable?
listed
That's
inside
so
of my
simple.
GitHub.
What do you
So
mean?
that's kind of a good achievement. To
What do you
verify my
mean?
Fortran Quine is working properly, I'm going to compile this. We'll do g fortran, and I'm going to do my fort quine.f90 output fort quine. And we can run this fort quine, and here you can see we do indeed have another reproduction of this particular code. Now let's move on to the more interesting.
I don't understand this, and to be honest, with the 12 more minutes left in that, I need to find something else. Let's find something else. Wait, hold on. Desmos, the game engine no one talks about? Desmos is the graphing software.
Hi, I'm back again making games on
Wait, hold
things
on.
I want designed to make.
Just for context, if anyone that doesn't know, this is Desmos. This like, I don't know if you can see that, like There we go. Now we'll keep that up there. Make that an 8 so that you can see it. Yeah. It's like graphing calculator software. I use this in like geometry. So now we can go back. We'll watch the video.
This time, however, I used Desmos. For those who don't know, Desmos is a WordPress 2D graphing calculator. Typically, people just use it to graph simple lines or plot points, but if you really want, you can make some pretty cool stuff. Take this for example. This is a graph I made almost 2 years ago, where you can display any solid of revelation and explore it in 3D space. E to the power
that's a little
makes
complex.
a wormhole-like object, and if you want to make a sphere, for example, you just have to plug in the equation for a semicircle. Other than that, here's a quick look at some of the other stuff I made.
This is way more complex than anything I've ever done with
Now that
Desmos.
my brain has gotten a little bigger since then, I decided to make a 3D game and
Wait,
see
what the
how
hell?
far I can take it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Desmos is also on mobile, so you know what that means? Nah, just kidding. It'd be a nightmare to type all this on my phone. It's already hard enough debugging this mess on a big screen. Oh,
I kind of want to get an
Here,
Alphamstarmy
let
just
me
so I
enhance
can
it
like...
for you. Just a little more. Okay, one more. Maybe one more. Okay, a little more.
Just to get the mega.
Just a bit more. One more. Anyway, first things first, we need to figure out how to display 3D objects. Although the graph earlier already did this to a degree, it doesn't allow for colored faces. It's only capable of drawing the edges.
Right,
The first thing I tried was the shader approach, where for every point on the screen, I calculated the pixel's color by ray casting. This looked great, but it was way too slow even with just one cuboid. I even tried making it so the number of points calculated was limited to certain points only, but even then it was way too slow.
This feels incredibly inefficient.
Since this method would have let me implement lighting easily. After a bit
This is coding the entire thing on the front end. Or on the front end of something that's already coded. So it has to take all of that, interpret it in its own way, and then display it. It's like... It's... Obviously, it's literally like the same as coding and or making Minecraft in Minecraft. You know? But I think it's different, but just as complex. But also, you have less coding opportunity with what you have available to you. So I am incredibly intrigued at how he's going to make this efficient enough. That's my question. How are you going to make it efficient? Because based off of what you showed in the first place, with your modeling, I already know he's like technically capable to make it happen. But in real time, with the fact that it's processing it over the internet, like how's it gonna make it work? Let's see how that works.
bit of searching, I decided that instead of raycasting, I would just project the vertices from the 3D space to 2D, then connect them using the polygon feature to form a face.
Okay.
One issue is that things get weird when vertices are behind the camera, because I'm not sure where they should get projected, but that is no problem if the objects are never behind the camera. That's right. I told you my brain is bigger than before.
Here's a quick explanation of how the projection works. Imagine there's a plane in front of the camera stretching to infinity. This represents a screen, although of course you'll crop the viewable area to just be a portion of it. For every vertex, I make an imaginary line going through the camera position and that vertex. The intersection point between the line and the plane is the projected point. The question is, what happens when the vertex is placed at a point such that the imaginary line is parallel to the plane?
Right.
More importantly, what happens if the vertex is behind the camera?
Because it breaks
Nothing
the
is done,
system at
objects
that point.
behind the camera appear inverted on the screen.
But we can't just not project vertices behind the camera, because if some vertices are in front of the camera and some are behind, we won't be able to render certain faces.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe if I took the time to learn how rendering is usually done, I could have found a solution, but I have a feeling it would have made the game a lot laggier, and also that's really boring.
Yeah, figure it out yourself.
Just like reading
Let's
books.
see.
Sorry, I just don't get it. I've tried getting into books many times when I was small, but like, where's the movement? I'm not seeing enough movement. Another issue is that farther objects can appear on top of closer ones. I fixed this by rendering faces in order of how far it is from the camera. This isn't perfect though, since sometimes farther faces should be rendered on top, and when faces intersect it gets even more complicated.
Yeah.
But luckily this can all be avoided if we place blocks in a grid with the same size.
In the final game, I want the blocks to not be transparent, but if I make it fully opaque, the positions of the blocks are hard to tell since they're just flat colors. So to improve the clarity, I added outlines. Desmos has a built-in outline system, but it doesn't let you change the color of the outline from the face, so I rendered each polygon twice. One for the face as usual, and one for the outline where the fill color is set to transparent.
While working on the game, I found it really helpful to map out the objects in Blender to bug fix the rendering order, and I was quite surprised by how well it matched up considering that I barely know what I'm doing.
Now, at this point, I had a rough idea for the game. Basically, you'll be shown a structure, and you just have to recreate it as fast as possible by placing blocks like in Minecraft.
Okay.
I know it's not the most exciting game, but there's only so much I can do using my rendering system and in Desmos in general. Like,
Yeah.
here's the list of restrictions I had to consider. First
Less
of
than
all,
100
I can't
cubes?
have objects behind the camera. I can't have a game that requires fast movement because the FPS won't be able to keep up.
Right.
Everything needs to be a cube and on a grid.
Oh.
I can't have more than like 100 objects. And finally, the
Okay,
only
'cause
source of
rendering.
input I can get is basically the mouse. Right now, the game struggles to render more than 10 cubes because it's rendering all faces even if they can't be seen. So I
Sure.
added back face culling and called faces which have the same position.
That's
So if two
typical.
blocks are adjacent, the face that they share will be called. I also did some minor optimizations and now it runs a lot better. It
There you
still
go.
lags if you fill the entire 5x5x5 volume, but we'll call that a feature. It punishes players for placing more blocks than necessary.
Alright.
That is not a cube. And you say.
But luckily, this can all be avoided if we place blocks in a grid with the same size.
Oh yeah, I worked around that by rendering that first, so it's always behind the other blocks.
Okay.
It works well as long as the camera doesn't go too low, to the point where the big boy block is in front
Ruh-roh.
of the smaller blocks.
Oh, I've seen now.
Illusions.
So far, I went through the whole rendering and optimization quite quickly as if it was easy to implement, but wrong. To store 3D vector in Desmos, you need to use a list, and to store multiple 3D vectors, you need to use one long list.
Right.
Since Desmos doesn't allow list of lists.
Oh.
So if you want to apply an operation like rotation on every vector, you need to use a lot of modulo and conditionals, which
Sure.
can make expressions super long. I have to
Expected.
make this image 9600 by 5400 so I can zoom in without it getting blurry.
Holy crap. That is massive, dude.
Desmos has a really cool feature called actions, which allows you to change the values of variables, and you can attach them to polygons to make buttons or call them repeatedly on an interval using the ticker. Using this, I made the transition between levels and the block placing mechanic. Now, of course, when life presents an opportunity to make shapes and be creative, it's customary, like tradition or human instinct, to make a rocket ship.
Right.
Now that the game is basically done, I added some polish, a button to swap to the structure you need to recreate, and a nice linear ranking system for the speedrunners.
Huh.
It consists of
Wait, hold
sheesh,
on.
not bad, okay man, bruh, and trashy poo poo.
Does he even
Apart
check?
from that, that's pretty much it. There was a Desmos art competition happening around the time when I was finishing up the game, so I decided to submit an early version cause why not? Sadly though, I didn't win, which, you know, it's fine. It just makes me wonder, like,
Why?
not bad, okay man, bruh, and
How do you make the working buttons?
Well, you know what they say. Sometimes plan doesn't go the way you plan.
Like, how do you make it clickable?
Anyway, I give Desmos a 10 out of 10, won't do again, I'll put it at C tier. You can go play the game if you want, link in the description. Thanks for watching, and if you liked what you saw, you can go watch all of the one other video I've uploaded. Let's see, the most liked comment is, it's not what I expected.
Oh. Cool. That's an awesome video. That is actually pretty cool. Well, let's see if it works anyway. Alright, we'll see. Alright. Oh, that's something. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be comparing to. This is so janky. I'm done with it. That's cool. Alpha but no shinies. Too many coding videos. Let's find something that's not coding related. Or like science. Science is cool, but we gotta find something interesting. Oh. Parkour. That's a stupid ass video. Why? Alright, on. Future Canoe is cool, but not sure I wanna watch Mew. Let's try this. Is Chipotle a waste of money? But before I do, I need to take a quick break. Quick break. While we're here, we'll look around. Alright, BRB. I'm back, chat. I'm back.
This Chipotle quesadilla with the side of guac cost me $15.75.
Going strong?
Now, if I took $15.75 into this
We're going
grocery store
strong.
behind me, there is absolutely no way that I would be able to buy all the ingredients I need to make Chipotle at home.
What's up, Meditate? What's up, Flame? What's up, Flame?
I still need to do the prep work, the cooking, and the cleaning. Now, some people may see this and
Bye, Flame.
argue that
See you later.
eating out is oftentimes much cheaper and easier than cooking at home. However, other people say that grocery shopping and cooking at home will save you time and lots of money. I mean,
Not time. It won't save you time, but it does save you money. Especially if you shop smart.
And the truth is, both of these arguments can be correct depending on the context, and that's what I want to figure out.
Also depends on if you like slop or not.
So I'm going to keep track of all of the related time and monetary costs to make Chipotle's quesadilla, such as how much time it takes me to order versus planning a list, driving to Chipotle versus the grocery store, picking it up versus the prep work, the cooking, and then cleaning. And by the end of this video, I hope to provide you with a
Wait, so that first little bit of all the time that takes to prep and like plan, that is genuinely so important to include. I'm glad he does, because I often see so many food YouTubers just ignore that aspect entirely. It's just like, oh, see, I spend like a fuck ton of money. I spend a fuck ton of time on this, so obviously I can make it for better at home. And like, yeah, no shit. But if you include the time to prep, if you include like individually literally everything that goes into it, down to the very last detail, including the time you're standing in front of your stove, like, that is genuinely all incorporated into it. So fast food, it is fast, it is convenient, that is kind of the point. And that's definitely going to win in that aspect, I believe. At least is my prediction. I believe that it's going to win in that aspect. But then you're going to take on the actual money aspect of it. And when you make in enough bulk, you're probably going to save... Oh. So if the number here that they're giving me is $160 for 5 days for 10 meals. $160 for 10 meals. You're definitely going to save at least $60 on this. But is your time spent prepping and in front of the stove going to be worth $60? We'll see.
Transparent cost and time comparison between cooking and ordering out, because honestly, there are a lot of hidden costs to both approaches.
And of course, we'll do a final taste test to compare the flavor differences between the two as well, because when I saw the quesadilla and how they make this, I was actually very impressed with the method, because it solves the two biggest problems that I have when making quesadillas at home.
Sure. What are the two problems?
Chipotle's quesadilla is made by first layering down the cheese on a large 12-inch tortilla,
sure,
and layering the meat right on top. Now, instead of folding it into a
the meat's hot,
or stacking another tortilla over it,
which is important.
fold it into a square. And that's the key. By folding it this way, there are no open edges. This way, you can really load it up with as much cheese, meat, and fillings
Oh
as
yeah,
you
because you
want,
can't spill, yeah.
without worrying about everything spilling out like a traditional fold-over quesadilla. And the second clever part is how they serve it, with sauces on the side. Because of the
for
form
dipping.
factor, you can cut it in half and dip it, and it actually holds together when you go in for the salsa, your sour cream, or your guacamole. It's clean, controlled, and built to dip.
Okay.
Now, the only issue is you may or may not have a Chipotle near you, and as we'll see, for $14 or $15, I feel like I'm getting skimped on the beef compared to how I would make them at home, and there may be more time involved than you think when considering.
Right, because you have to drive there. Yeah.
Okay, so by the time I got all the payment information in there and everything, that was probably 60 to 90 seconds or so, and I'll show you exactly what I got the beef barbacoa quesadilla with tomato red chili salsa, sour cream, and the guac, which, yes, is extra. But with this method, it's an online-only order, so I actually don't need to wait in line when we get there, which is something that you might have to do. All I need to do is now drive there, pick it up, and then we can eat.
Now I actually need to go get it, and yes, everyone's Chipotle will be a different distance away. Mine happens to be a 15-minute drive. Again, I'm just showing what I would actually do. So I drove to Chipotle, parked, walked in, and grabbed the order. Let's call that 2 minutes in total, then drove the 15 minutes back home. I like to eat in my own kitchen, maybe throw on a YouTube video, so I'll include the extra minute from walking to my seat to actually sitting down with the food.
Okay, so do the final tallies of timings in just a second. And yes, it did get a little messy. That might have been me. I might accidentally knocked it when it was at the sink a little bit.
It happens, but
this should still taste good. So let's kind of see what we're working with. And I do want to kind of weigh everything just to see. Okay, so it's like 120 grams there. And I want to see how much the quesadilla weighs. 220 grams. Okay, so that's like a pretty solid amount. Yeah, like I said, got a little gnarled up in there, but I think this should still taste pretty solid.
All right, we'll see.
Beef is definitely spicy, nicely seasoned. And then I think this, for me, is why this is kind of like a genius way to serve it. It's because, like, you have the dipping trays, you can add guac, add the sour cream, your salsa, whatever you want.
For our final tally, ordering Chipotle once came out to $15.75 in about 33 minutes and 30 seconds. And on a one-off basis, especially if you're like on the way home, this can feel pretty reasonable.
Sure.
However, I think the trap that we all fall into is that when we do this on just kind of a one-by-one basis, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. Because if we zoom out and look across multiple days, for example, like a 5-day work week, that means there are 9 more lunches and dinners to cover. And sure, you could definitely order Chipotle 9 more times. I don't think many of us are doing that, but some probably are. But I bring this up because most of us are probably already going to the grocery store anyway. And as we're about to see, grocery shopping and cooking at home will almost always have significant more upfront cost in both time and money.
Yes.
But it might not be as much as you think. And I was surprised that I was able to spend
Upfront,
less than $50 on
when you
groceries
bulk.
to not just make more quesadillas, but also bigger quesadillas too. Mine ended up being about 60 grams heavier because I loaded them with more meat and more cheese. So let's head to the store and cook. Okay, to start, I had to put together the list of 15 items that I need, which took me 4 minutes. And after taking 13 minutes drive to the grocery store, I'm ready to shop. My produce items were avocado, cilantro, garlic, jalapenos, lime, and white onion. For the meat, I got a big prime chuck roast, then some Monterey Jack for the cheese, Mexican crema, some store-bought salsa.
Prime is a little expensive,
and smoked paprika from the bulk section,
especially when you're slow cooking.
Ancho and guajillo chili powder. And after checking out with every item,
I have your choice at that point.
It was only about 11 minutes to do the shopping. Then I drove 13 minutes back home to be greeted by Hopper. And my total grocery cost ended up being $47.64. And I'll leave this table linked below if you want to check out.
$47.64. So that, in Chipotle terms, gets you 3 meals. That is a day and a half worth of Chipotle meals. But let's see how much it makes.
Granular details, but this is the full sticker price on all these items except these 4, which are salt, some dark soy sauce, beef bouillon, and a little bit of oil. I've had these for months now, so I feel like it's pretty fair to just use the itemized cost for those. Now, what's interesting about this cost is that the 5 most expensive items make up around 80% of the total cost, and here they are. First up, we have the prime chuck roast, which was $19.34 or $7.99 per pound. Next, we have red salsa at $5.52, and I could have bought the ingredients to probably make a red salsa from scratch. Maybe it would have been a little bit cheaper, but honestly, the time didn't feel like it was going to be worth it. Third, we have a block of Monterey Jack at $4.99. Fourth, we have a pack of large 12-inch tortillas, which were $4.58. And lastly, we have
nothing good tortillas.
$3.
Used in Texas, not Chicago.
And really, these are all core items you have to buy if you want to make a quesadilla, but there is a good chance you may have some of the other items, like the spices, the garlic, onion, and things like that. Now,
Sure,
from
but
a
those are also the
monetary
extras you get at
perspective, we're
Chipotle, so you gotta
looking
be
pretty good to
fair.
be able
You gotta
to
be
make
fair.
several quesadillas, and I want you guys to guess how many we'll be able to make. But we do still need to factor.
Wait, hold on. How many quesadillas you'll be able to make? If we go back, I think that was a 2.5 pound chuck roast. 712 here.
Is the full sticker price on all these items. Check out the very granular.
Yeah, 2.5 pounds. Per quesadilla, you're probably getting a quarter or maybe a third of a pound. If you round that like 0.4 down to a like 0.33, I'm gonna say you get 7 quesadillas out of this.
We do still need to factor in the time, and we're not looking so good from there. We're over 40
sure.
minutes, and we haven't cooked anything yet. So let's change that.
But slow cooking
So
the
to
beef
start,
should
you
be
can
at
turn this
least
chuck roast into a beautiful braised barbecue
inactive
style
time.
meat. This is an optional step,
I
but I
discount
decided
it.
to take 90 seconds and salt the meat ahead of time before tossing it in the fridge overnight. Then the next morning at 7:14, I got the lights on, added a little oil to the Dutch oven, and let that heat up for a minute or two before sliding in that chuck roast.
Sure.
Which, while the beef cooked, I grabbed a bowl of water for the braising liquid, and to that I added a big spoonful of the beef bouillon, a little splash of dark soy sauce for color because I've been wanting to try that out, and then after flipping the beef over to let the other side cook, a squirt of tomato paste. Then I pulled the chuck out and let's add the aromatics. I tossed in 4 big cloves of crushed garlic, then I dumped in basically the entire container of chili powder, all of the cumin, and all of the smoked paprika, and that's it. You let this bloom up for a second before pouring in the braising liquid.
I like that he's like not just quick thought. I like that he's not compromising anything. He's still acting as if like he is as a food YouTuber, and he is just like going all in on it. He is being efficient with time as well, and that is something that doesn't get shown too much. Is how you can be efficient with time. Because yeah, you're standing there and you're searing off your beef, but then he goes and he makes his braising liquid on the side while he's doing that. And like most people would do that first and then sear off the beef and then put together. And that's a solid 15 minutes you save just by like stepping off to the side to mix a few ingredients together while something else cooks. So pretty interesting. I appreciate that he's like actually including that, but also spelling it out because this is a video for people that end up not believing in grocery shopping that much, I think. Or have heard that grocery shopping is worth it, but may be a little skeptical, or have heard that just eating fast food all the time is actually more worth it and are skeptical of the grocery. These are people that are skeptical of the grocery shopping habits. And often I think the issue comes not from the actual like cost of it, but I think from the energy that you expend while cooking. And of course, if you're going to take extra time, it's extra energy expended. So I think spelling it out for some people that may not exactly know, hey, you can be a little more efficient with this. It helps a lot, I think.
And just look at the rich color on that. Lastly, add the beef back in with the lid over the top, and into the oven it goes at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. Now obviously this braised beef is going to take several hours, but in terms of active time, it only took me 8 minutes and 12 seconds to get into the oven, then another 2.5 minutes of cleaning up before Hopper was ready for his morning walk. Then at around 3 p.m. I decided to check on it, and as you can see, when I twist my fork, those fibers easily start to lift up, which means it's ready. So
Hold on. He says morning and it's 3 p.m. This sounds like a recipe that's really good for people who work from home, like he does, because he's a YouTuber. And maybe a food blogger. But when you have to understand that this is an all-day thing, you have to be around roughly, you have to make sure that you have to be roughly in the vicinity of your oven. Or at least at home, right? You probably shouldn't be going out for multiple hours at a time if you're doing this during a day. That limits it to weekends. So people that go out and work in homes that are often empty for most of the day only have a day or two to do this. So you have to dedicate an entire day to meal prep. On top of that, I'm starting to see why, obviously, this works for some people, but not others.
I grabbed the beef out and decided to give it a rough chop, but as you can see, it's so tender, it's kind of just falling apart anyway.
It does look
Of
good,
course,
though.
Make sure to add a couple spoonfuls of the fatty, juicy bracing liquid so it gets into all those little nooks and crannies of the shredded beef. Now, I did weigh this out, and I had 800 grams of usable beef, which, if we use a standard Chipotle scoop at 4 ounces or 113 grams, this means we'll have enough beef to make 7 quesadillas worth.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I don't think there's going to be enough cheese for 7. We're going to need to weigh it out. But anyway, this brings our total braised beef active time to another 5 minutes for the shredding, and another...
I called it with 7. Holy shit.
Clean up. And lastly, before assembly, we need some guac. I'm keeping mine super simple by just adding a couple of avocados to a food processor with some lime juice and salt and blending that until it's smooth. Then I diced up the serrano, onion, and cilantro and mixed those in after blending, so there's a couple of crunchy bits in there. And that's it. We've got all the components we need to make a Chipotle-style quesadilla at home. So let's cook this thing, and really this is where the magic of the braised beef shines, because if you prep that ahead of time and store it in the fridge or freezer, you can have one of these quesadillas in minutes. To start, I weighed out 4 ounces of the beef and just warmed it in the microwave. And instantly, we've got that glorious, luxurious, rich, juicy sheen that you get from good braised beef.
Too many adjectives. What in the world?
And our seasonings. Then, for the cheese, I used 75 grams, which I think is the sweet spot. And that's enough to make 6 quesadillas in total, which will be our baseline moving forward for the numbers. So, to assemble, it's simple. Lay down a base layer of cheese first, add the beef on top, fold, then fold again into that neat little square, and then sear it on both sides until golden brown and crispy. And if you do want to help get that golden brown, I do recommend weighing this down a little bit. Now, while those were cooking, I got my sauces ready, the guacamole, the red salsa, and the sour cream.
Oh, you can use a brick wrapped in foil instead of a weight.
By the time I checked back, that quesadilla was beautifully brown on both sides, and I've got to say, ours is looking a little bit nicer than the ones from Chipotle. Now, I cut it in half and just look at this cheesy juiciness inside. It's perfectly melty, the perfect texture of the quesadilla. And before we do the taste test, let's take a look at the final numbers. So for the homemade quesadilla, the grocery cost came to $47.64. And if we divide that by 6, that's going to be about $7.94 per serving. However, I did mention mine are bigger,
roughly
so
half.
Just by weight, it's going to be closer to $6.35, but we'll just keep the $7.94 number.
Sure.
Then for the time, this kind of depends on how you approach it.
Being conservative, right?
A big batch of beef and then using it up throughout the week, you're probably only adding about 8 extra minutes for each one after you make the first one. And I actually vacuum sealed and froze half of my beef so I could use it for quick reheatable meals.
Sure.
And I don't need to start from scratch.
Nice.
Now, there are some hidden costs
that
that show up in the map.
Not everyone has a vacuum sealer. But you could probably get away with putting in a gallon bag, squeezing all the air out, and then freezing it. Pretty similar, I think. But, okay. That's just a more affordable option, I think.
Math comparison here. I mean, cooking does take more mental effort. You need to plan your grocery list. You might need to start the braise before work so dinner is ready later tonight. While ordering out is easier. You don't have to think, you just go. And I think that's the big reason a lot of us do it. It's the convenience when we haven't planned or prepped anything. But I do have to mention, there are also hidden benefits to cooking. Because even if these did cost the exact same, personally, I just have more fun cooking most often. When that braised beef is simmering away in the oven, I get the anticipation when I'm sitting at my desk, and there's nothing that I like more than sitting down to eat something that I have created to see how it tastes. So with that, let's do our final taste test between the two.
Okay, so we've made it to the final taste test. Let's get into these things. So one of the biggest, I think, visual and I think differences you can see is kind of the meat to cheese ratio. I feel like Chipotle really kind of skimped us here. So what I'm going to do is weigh these out. I'm kind of curious. The first one I weighed was like 220. Yeah, 215. I'm almost guaranteeing, I think ours are, the one that I made, I think is significantly heavier and thicker. I think I put a lot more cheese and meat into it. Yeah, 280. So 280 grams versus 215 to 220 grams. So also, it's a bigger quesadilla, and on a per unit, it costs less. But of course, we've got to do the actual taste test and see kind of how different or similar they really are. Like I said, the first one I had was pretty solid, but I'm interested to compare it. Just like the other one, I mean, it's good, it's classic. I will say, this one does feel kind of tortilla forward. There's a lot of layers of tortillas that I got to work through, which is why I'm excited to get into.
Yours does too, though.
Let's go plain first. Immediately, the ratios are much better in this one.
Sure, because you stuffed it with more beef.
Like, you can really just see a lot more beef packed in for sure. And like I said, I really do love the way that they've kind of presented this and they make this. It's just like a really enjoyable way to eat a quesadilla.
This is probably the same amount of tortilla, just more beef.
Let's do the little trifecta bite with all three dippers. I will say, I do like the corn salsa too.
Yeah.
I feel like if I do go to Chipotle, this is typically what I'll get.
Hi, Alpha. Is that Alpha Phalanx over there too?
Man, I love
this. Out of curiosity,
because really, you could even pocket it open that way. Add in a little bit of the corn.
Oh yeah, that's an Alpha Phalanx. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, you can see the trail there. That's crazy.
That's pretty interesting too. You can kind of open up the pocket.
Hello, Alpha Phalanx.
Okay, I gotta stop myself before I get carried away.
All right.
Let's do a final key takeaways, and then I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments. So for me, the homemade one just hands down wins. I mean, put a little bit more care and effort into it. Got those ratios right where I like them to be, rather than having to rely on.
Okay, so it looks like he's divided up the time by quesadilla. If you like spread it the entire thing out. So if you're going to commit to like 6 or 7 days worth of quesadilla, like obviously cooking's better. You save about $8. You save 20 minutes per quesadilla. Yes. But I think this is also an indication of, I think, the thought process or the philosophy that being poor is expensive. Being poor is expensive because just you have to have all that time up front in a singular day. Many people only have the 35 minutes and then maybe an extra 5 to 10 to eat in their individual meal. They probably don't have, if I pull out round that up to 15 times, we'll call it 6, be conservative. Is that 90 minutes? Is that only 90 minutes? 90 active minutes on top of, well, let's think about it. That's 90 active minutes. You probably spend the first 60 at home, or going from to your grocery store, home from the grocery store. Introductory prep work. And then you sit. Then the last, or maybe like hour and 15 is all that. And the last 15 minutes is putting it all together. And in the middle, you have a crap ton of time. This is like a weekend thing, right? You have to make sure you set aside your Sunday. Like, you prep it before, or like you go to the grocery store, you do it. You grab all your ingredients on a Saturday. On Sunday, you wake up before church if you're religious. And put it in the oven. You come back at 5 p.m., you pull it out of the oven, and you make quesadillas, alright? Also, this is for one individual person. This is for one individual person. And if you go in the McDonald's app, let's think about this. You go in the McDonald's app, you can get the $5 meal deal. For $5, round up a little bit with taxes, that's like $7 total. You spend. Now you're spending more time per meal on this, but you're still like it's just as expensive. Now, which would people rather do? So, very interesting video. I like it. I like it. I like the thought of it. But I don't think this was the right recipe to really accentuate how, like, the points they're trying to make here. It's right for the time, I think. I think it's awesome for the time that they're trying to, but you need to bring that down from $8 per person to $4 or $5 for the crowd that actually needs this. So if you can bring it down to $4 or $5 per meal, then I think that's where you get the win. But good video overall. Very, very solid. Awesome information. Great that someone broke it down like this. Because like it's not that hard to break it down like this. You just have to put in the effort. So it's good that someone put in the effort. So okay. Let's find a new video. Comic book covers? Interesting. Can you catch them all with only one switch? There we go. Pokemon related. Let's try it.
Have you ever wanted to make your own living decks? How about a
I've done it.
form decks? And you're just not sure where to start. Well,
Forum decks? I think, okay, here's my prediction going into this. I don't think you can get a forum decks by yourself. There's too many variables. Vivian being the big one. But also Kanto and Johto Slowbros. Or should I say Kanto, Johto Slowbro versus Galarian Slowbro and Soaking, right? Most trade evolutions. Like you can get most trade evolutions by yourself. There's a select few. I think Alakazam might be one of them. Like, I don't know if it... Here, I'm gonna look this up. I don't think you can get Alakazam. Because you can't... Oh, there's Wilds 20. There we go. What about Machamp? G-Max Machamp raids. Also Wilds 20. Try Golem. Regular Golem. 6-star raid battles. 5-star raid battles. Okay. So I think you can have a few. Also, what's up, Flame? Glad to see you back. Is that shiny? Hello. Hi, Queen. Turn around. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I've already evolved my shiny Mareep, so I'm not in the best position here, but we should definitely save and look at this, right? So that's 2 shinies in the stream. No good special defense on this guy. Nothing really here. Okay. It's not really... It's good for the living deck. I'll say that. I'll say it's good for the living deck. Alright, we'll start it.
I may just have the solution for you. Last summer, I decided I was going to create a living form deck from scratch with no outside help. I have one Switch, one of each Switch Pokemon game,
right,
and a subscription to Pokemon Home that'll be used exclusively for Pokemon storage. This means no trading. Not for evolutions, not for version exclusives, not for anything. Now, some of you may be...
This is about me. I think starting in Gen 8, I got a little bit of trade help, the trade evolutions. And I think trade evolutions, again, as I mentioned, is going to be the big thing. Because I know... Oh! That's the big one. Aromatisse is our big one, I think, actually. Okay, you can get Aromatisse and max raid battles and shield. And what's the other one? Slurpaw. Hello, computer. Take your time. I need to know. Yep, there we go. Because in Legend CA, you can't do that. Oh, Excelgor. I think Excelgor might be the same way. Dynamax Adventures, okay. Yeah, I think you can do it. I think you can do it. There's a way with every single game. I think Sword and Shield might be the secret. Sword and Shield is the secret. And Legend CA is the other secret, but this is 4 months ago, so maybe it fixed it. Maybe Legend CA fixed it.
What is a living dex? Well, a living dex is, quite simply, having one of every Pokemon in your PC boxes or home. So, instead of getting a Bulbasaur...
Isn't there like one Pokemon you still can't get on the Switch? Pokemon not available. Oh, let's... There's a Reddit post here. They'll be in... Is 15? I don't think 15 is available. 15 might be a big one. Celebi you can get with one of the home distributions if you collect the entire thing. Patrat and Watchog, the Pans, Genesect. I don't know if you can go. It might be forced with Go. Diancie, there's a distribution. Furfru, that's Legend CA. Hoopa will be Legend CA DLC. So Volcanion. Magearna is, well, you finish the decks, you get Magearna, but also there's something for that. Marshazor, Zarude. Technically, you can get Spinda and PDSP, but you can't transfer it. And then Deoxys. Okay. Good note.
And then evolving it
So
into
anything
Ivysaur
else
and
is
then
what I'll be
Venusaur.
interested in.
You get a Bulbasaur, an Ivysaur, and a Venusaur, and then put all 3 into your storage. The Living Form Dex is just one step beyond, where not only do you fill the requirements of the Living Dex, but you get all the boxable forms as well. I will add that since the Living Dex is being stored in home, held item-based form changes will be excluded due to items being unavailable in home. So this means that instead of just getting one Rotom, you get all 6 forms of Rotom, but only one Giratina due to it needing a held item to transform. I will add that while I am planning on getting all forms, there are a few things I will be excluding. These being making sure the Pokemon have the Gmax mark, as well as most of the gender differences. These both are very simple, and if you can get a Pokemon at all, you can get the Gmax mark or the gender difference guaranteed. So I believe they aren't overly necessary for the intent of this challenge.
Right, that's just something you gotta...
just don't want to get all the gender differences again. Now, for anyone familiar with this channel, you may know that I already have my Dex's project, which is a kind of over-the-top living dex I've been working on for a few years now. And you may be wondering why I decided to do a bulk of it again. The simple answer is that I thought it would be fun to start from scratch and see how fast I could achieve it. Add in the restrictions I put in place.
I did this in 2021.
I thought it would be cool to see what is the absolute furthest someone could go playing purely single player. Not everyone has multiple Switches or a circle of friends that play these games. So showcasing how much you can achieve alone with only the current games will let us know if you
I think 3DS is where
catch them all.
It breaks open.
For a quick overview of what is needed for this
project, that's the issue.
If you want to attempt it yourself, you will need a Switch. Any model will do. You will need a copy of either Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee. The version you pick should not matter. I personally went with Eevee. You will need specifically Brilliant Diamond.
I have both.
That will be discussed later. And you will need Legends Arceus, both Sword and Shield, as well as both Scarlet and Violet.
I have all
If you
those.
want a convenient
That's
place to
actually,
store everything,
that's really convenient for me. Those are the exact ones I have on the Switch. The exact ones. I got Let's Go Eevee. I got Brilliant Diamond. I did not get Shining Pearl. I did not get Let's Go Pikachu. This is the only 2 Switch games I do not have. That's really funny to me.
a home sub will also need to be tacked on. So in total, you need 1 Switch, 7 games, and a subscription to Pokemon Home. And I believe that's all the preliminary info we need to go over. And so now it's time to get into the journey. Legends Arceus would be the seemingly best place to start, as you need to catch everything in that game to get Arceus. However, for specific reasons, Brilliant Diamond will be the first game we play.
Okay. Oh, Arceus.
Starting in Brilliant Diamond, we name ourselves Turtle, like we will for every other game in this challenge.
Keep OT.
The first Pokemon we technically obtain in this challenge will be Turtwig.
I don't think it matters.
Now,
especially
this is
with
a video
Scarlet
about
Violet.
catching Pokemon, and that all of these games have already been well covered throughout the years. We are not going to go super deep into the stories of any of them.
Sure.
Furthermore, none of the Pokemon we obtain in this game for right now will actually be used for this challenge, so we can just breeze along. We beat all the gyms, we become the champion, we unlock the national.
I'm pretty sure I speedrun that in like half the time, and I'm like, I just followed there's like a speedrun guide online that if you go and get a Scyther the moment you can get the underground, you can get that done in like 4 hours. It's pretty sick, in my opinion.
And then we position ourselves at Backlot's mansion, due to needing something from his prize trophy garden. And with that, we are finished with Brilliant Diamond for now. As Brilliant Diamond serves as mostly a preparation for something later down the line, it's time to actually really start with something in this challenge, and that is with Legends Arceus. This game features only 242 Pokemon. And again, since this video isn't really a recap of playthroughs, there's not a whole lot to talk about for this right now.
I just realized there is something in a game, I think is, if you have the save for Sword and Shield, you get a Jirachi in Brilliant Diamond, and if you have the Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee, you get a Mew in Brilliant Diamond. I think that's correct, and that's Floroma Town. Yeah. Let's go Sword and Shield. Yeah, that's how you get these 2. That's huge. That's actually huge, because you don't have to pay. Okay.
Right now, the main objective of this game is to catch every single Pokemon, and so that is what we will do. I will not call out all of them, as doing so will set a precedent leading to this video becoming far too long. Instead, we will just montage collecting everything.
Months. Makes sense. Okay, so you're getting Alola as well. Or at least, Dartrix. It doesn't really matter, because, like, Scarlet Violet will cover the rest. But it does make it easier. It does, in fact, make that easier. Oh yeah, and there's fossils as well. I think genuinely the big thing about this game is the fact that it makes a lot of things easy and not just that they exist. Because they exist in Scarlet Violet. Most things exist in Scarlet Violet. But being able to just walk up and backstrike and not have to deal with any of it, it's great. Also, trade evos here too. Getting all the trade evos possible in this game is perfect. Oh, and Amorous. You need an Amorous. Oh yeah. Okay. Of course, get Arceus, get the unknowns. He's trying to form decks it too, which I think makes sense, but...
So we have an almost full Legends Arceus living dex. Missing some of the starters and a shield on. I could have gotten them in here, but there will be easier ways to fill in these couple holes later down the road.
Sure.
We also caught the extra Burmy and Wormadam coats, EC Shellos, and all of the unknown, giving us almost every alt form we can get from this game. Another thing we missed on this run-through is catching Shaman and Darkrai, as they require save files from other games to get access to them.
Right.
We have the Brilliant Diamond save file we need.
Wait, Sword
but
Shield.
We'll wait until we get a Sword or Shield save file so we can catch both of them at once.
Yeah.
With the end of our quick Legends Arceus recap, we move on to the playthrough of the story in Shield. Sword and Shield are very special games if you own the DLC, as you can access the DLC areas right after entering the wild area.
So you can grab a Suicune and sweep.
So we can head straight to the Crown Tundra. Right off the bat, you will need to fight Peony, who has a team of level 70 Pokemon.
You lose.
However, you don't actually need to beat him. Even if you lose, you can still proceed forward with the DLC. And so we run straight for the Dynamax Adventures. Not just because we have to for the story of the Crown Tundra, but because it's where we will be getting the real starter of our run.
Speaking.
Dynamax Adventures is a minigame, and where you use rental Pokemon to fight Dynamaxed Pokemon, including legendaries. While you can only keep one Pokemon you catch per run, the Pokemon will obey you no matter what. And so with that, we very quickly add Suicune, Yveltal, and Heatran to our
Might
team,
as well.
allowing
Sure.
for a very speedy playthrough of the game. Before we return to the main game, we will make a quick pit stop into the Isle of Armor, so that we can
Okay,
pick up
get
Pokemon,
Ursh.
allowing for it to start gaining levels before we have to evolve it. We also get a Squirtle that will also be named Soup, just to keep up with the theme. Onto the main game, we just kind of fly through all the gyms. We also catch a Sizzlipede in the fire gym. We then catch Eternatus, and then beat the unbeatable champion Leon.
I think the fire gym's the only place you can get Sizzlipede early game. I think that's really, really funny. So, of course, you might as well. Yeah, I think if you don't get Sizzlipede in the fire gym, you have to get a Centiskorch later and then breed it. So, I think. I'm probably wrong about that, but whatever.
To get the rest of the save file prepped for later, we go on a bit of a legendary catching spree. With the evolution of Urshifu, it's time to take a break from the Galar region and set our sights towards Paldea. As we move into Violet, we will start by once again trying to quickly move through the main story of the game.
Sure.
We choose Fuecoco as our starter and catch the tutorial Lechonk.
Are you gonna get the Flamigo and just go?
Get all the badges.
Oh, okay. You're just playing normally, okay. Who's adding me on Discord? Oh. Okay, half an hour.
And evolve them along the way. Beat the game.
So I'm gonna get off in half an hour then.
Next up, we start the DLC,
Which,
where we meet the
okay.
Ogre, beat the Loyal 3.
We're gonna finish up this and then
follow
go,
that up
and
with
then
catching a
we'll
few
be on.
Pokemon to unlock the False Swipe TM. We then make it to DLC 2, where we grind BP to buy all the Terrarium upgrades.
Sure,
we beat the Elite
because
Four
you
and catch some
need
Pokemon.
starters. It's the only way you can get
We
universe
beat
starters
the
after all,
champion,
or most.
Catch Terrapagos, get
More
jumped by
Cybeam
Ed
particular.
Sheeran again, start the
Ed
epilogue,
Sheeran.
catch Petron, and now we can go on to make a montage of catching almost everything in Violet, besides what is available in Legends.
It'd be funny if you show us just a random shiny here. Oh my god. Fuck ass. Give me 1.25 speed. This is a montage and a half. Oh my god. I mean, I knew it was gonna be a lot in Violet, but holy shit, dude. Cassie doesn't even pick up the sword. Should've. So this is how I know it's working, because we got this guy over here despite getting it a shiny. Now let's check in here. Did we get that Bumblebee shiny again?
During our catching spree, we had to find a raid for an Alolan Golem. Without trading,
Okay.
I believe this is the only way to get an Alolan Golem in any of the core series games.
Right, at least
While
on
on the grind
Switch.
of catching everything, I came across my first shiny in the entire challenge. That being a shiny Banette.
There you
Since I was
go.
recording just bulk footage of catching stuff, I didn't have my mic on to catch my reaction. But the main gist of it was being pretty happy as this was 90 hours into this challenge. I had played through all of Legends Arceus and almost all of Violet before seeing some sparkles.
That's
I
crazy.
unfortunately didn't get to use this Banette, as I was getting pretty close to being ready to move on to the next part of this challenge. But a shiny is a shiny. With that, we continue on with our montage.
I do think Legends Arceus is gonna make a lot of this better. Or not Legends Arceus, Legends CA. Yeah, at least like not the. You're still gonna need the entire Violet. I think a lot of the trade he does later in the forums you're gonna need Legends CA to help us. Like a little right too. But wait, hold on. Well, there's the Isle of Armor DLC where you get most of that. So that's fine. You just like casually get gifted it all.
After clearing out the bulk of what we need in Gen 9, we come to what is the last stop for now, being Snacksworth,
The
who
treats.
gives you access to legendaries in the post-game.
Because you aren't going to be able to do the
Kubfu, which allows us the third one we need without needing to start an extra save file of either sword or shield. Speaking of, now that we have the shield save file, we can now return to Legends Arceus to catch both Shaman and Darkrai.
Yep, there you go.
And there we have what I see as mostly the first half of this challenge, as we've caught a lot of the easy stuff, and this is the first
Half and only a third of the way through the
to this
video.
point, it's been very easy to keep track of what Pokemon we have. As we completed Legends Arceus, and then in Violet, we needed to just catch every Pokemon that wasn't in Legends Arceus. Moving forward, that will get a lot trickier to keep track of, and so this is when I started the month-long home sub to finally touch base and see where we were sitting. I forgot to record an overview of what the living decks look like at this point, and I'm not able to find a nice way to display me depositing Pokemon over the span of an hour and a half, so long story short,
I remember
we have
doing this.
702
This was
Pokemon
awful.
registered in the Pokedex, and 765 Pokemon deposited overall. 702 out of 1,025 already seems like a lot, but things will definitely start slowing down at this point, as well as needing a lot
Is that
more
the shiny?
Pokemons that aren't part of that count. I don't have an exact
I
count
think that's the
for total
shiny.
number
I think
of
it's the
Pokemon
shiny.
catching
I think it's it.
forms, but I believe it's somewhere
I think
around
that's it. I'm gonna wait for night to fall.
1,200 to 1,300 Pokemon. And so,
No,
with
wait.
knowing this information, seeing that we have 765 deposited, you can see we still have a bit more of a ways to
So
go.
we'll save real
With knowing
quick.
this information, we are now able to proceed with catching what we need from Pokemon Shield. Before hopping back into it, I would like to ask that if you are enjoying the
Hold on. Let's hide that. Wow. I think that's it. I think that is it. That's it. That's totally it. What's my ball? I have to prep my ball before I do it. My luxury ball. Do I kill a Starmie first? I think I kill Starmie first. I smite this fucker. Alright. There it is. We got it. Oh, announcement. 22 minutes till Draft Survivor Campfire. One more save. Oh, I missed. Alright. The moment he turns around, I'm gonna have to walk forward and snipe him. Let's go! Let's go! Oh my gosh. I got it. I got him, guys! Decent attack set. Not bad. We'll take it. We'll take it. Where do we take him? Where do we take him? Where do we take him? What is a good place to take my shiny Mega Greninja? It's gotta be by zone 12, right? Right? Like this area? Because we gotta do a photo shoot. We gotta do a photo shoot. Oh. Lost Pokeball, please. Give me my luxury ball back. Alright. We also need to... Alright, good. I'm gonna take you out for a second. Give you that. Also, we're gonna evolve you. We're gonna evolve you. Wait, hold on. Before we even do, let's check summary. You're small. Let's go. That's perfect. That is perfect that you're small. I'm keeping you like this. I'm keeping you. Okay. Like, not a horrible shiny. Not great either. Let's give you a large candy. And we'll feed you a crap from the smallest while I'm here. Yeah, good enough. I might have to EV train this guy. Let's go! Hold on, hold on. Look at him! Look at him! Oh, look at my baby! Look at him! Look at him. Alright. So now what I'm doing, I'm looking around. Oh, it was actually right here that I need to go, actually. Hey, Spitsy. Spitsy spider. We do not care. Nope, not what I need. I'd rather box. Here? This is a perfect spot. We're gonna box you so you don't get any EVs. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna... few things. We're gonna set up the photo shoot. Hiya, Gathley. Bonk. Alright. That's why Volt Switch is so good, in my opinion. Okay. Oh, and we gotta kill a Magikarp too. We'll kill both while we're here. I'm gonna fire my laser. Okay. Thanks, Ampros. You're real nice. Appreciate you. Alright, here's our backdrop. Alright. Come on. It's a perfect spot though. Perfect. There we go. Alright, there's some pictures. Reset and try this again. Alright, what the world's that? There we go. Awesome. Alright. That's it. Now we import. That's stream, guys. Thanks for coming. Goodbye.